Hi guys, NJ Tech here with a manoeuvre breakdown. We're going to have a look at the Peekaboo today. If you have been flying for a little while and you're looking for something a little more interesting to do, then this is quite a fun one. Like with all new manoeuvres, I suggest you either try them out first in a simulator, or if you're going to do it on your quad, then just do it nice and high. I always say 2 or 3 mistakes high. So that if you do get into trouble, you've got plenty of time whilst falling to recover from the manoeuvre. As a prerequisite to this, I do suggest using Airmode. This will obviously keep your propellers spinning at their minimum when you dump the throttle. You can use a idle up switch and a throttle curve if you so desire. The reason I prefer Airmode is that it maintains your full pitch and roll rates. Right, so before we get started, let's just have a look at the manoeuvre itself. So I will slow this down now and let's have a look at what's going on. So let's bring this down to 30%. So the first thing that we'll do, obviously line yourself up for the manoeuvre and visualize whereabouts you want to execute the actual manoeuvre itself. So for me here, I'm looking at this kind of dip in the tree line, and I'm using this line of trees as the point where I want to do that first half flip. The first thing I'll do as I head into the manoeuvre is to pop the throttle right there. Now the reason that we pop the throttle, and this goes for a lot of manoeuvres where you're doing anything inverted, it's very similar to if you were to throw a ball. If you want it to go its maximum distance, you wouldn't throw it in a straight line ahead of you. You also throw it upwards to get it to go as far as possible. The same goes with a quad. You need to add some upwards velocity so that when you drop the throttle to go inverted, there is still a little bit of inertia in the quad pushing it up into the sky, and this really helps increase the amount of hang time that you have. So that's why we're going to pop the throttle. I do that first, and then as I approach the tree line here, you can see I'm almost at the point where I'm lining up with the trees. I'm going to do two things more or less at the same time here. One is to go into this forward flip, or half flip I should say, and I'll do that fairly aggressively, and I'll also then want to drop the throttle right the way down to its minimum. So you should see that divide in the sticks if I press play here. There we go. So you can see I'm more or less dead over the tree line. I've dropped the throttle, I've pushed the pitch stick fully forward, and I will keep this held like this until I see the horizon, and there it is. And you can see at this point I've brought the stick back to the center so that I can stop at this point and just hang upside down. Still got the stick at 0 throttle obviously, and you can see the props spinning at their minimum. We don't want to add any throttle in here for obvious reasons, otherwise we propel ourselves towards the ground. And then this part, how long do you want to hang upside down for? You know, as long as you dare. I don't hang around for too long upside down here, but you can see I will do so for a short period and then execute the kind of the bailing part of the manoeuvre to get out of it, which is again another half front flip to get back to forward level flight. So let's play from here. And there we go. You can see I've now again fully deflected the pitch stick forward to be able to come back round, and in this case I've ever so slightly over rotated, and so that my nose is down, and that is so when I bring the power back in I continue on with plenty of forward speed. Of course the other reason for pulling the power in is also to stop the descent, because we are falling at the same time, and that is how we get through it. So let's have another look at that at the slower speed, and again just keep your eye on the right sticks. So we're popping the throttle, we're going to drop it, pitch forward, stop at the horizon, hang, pitch forward to exit, and then catch with the throttle. Okay, so let's have another look at a different example. Now this is a really good way to start to learn. This is a slight variation of that manoeuvre, a really good way to train for it, and I actually think this looks great in its own right. Let me just put this up at full speed to show you first. So So you can see it was a little less aggressive in terms of the first forward half flip, and what I chose to do there was actually rather than pop the throttle very aggressively and then aggressively do that front half flip, I keep the throttle in a little bit longer to climb a bit higher, and I'm a lot less aggressive on the front flip. And the aim of this is actually to visualize and keep your eye and frame in the camera one particular object, or you know, one group of objects. And for me here it's these trees, and you'll see if I just slow this down again, we're climbing, we keep climbing. Now here, there you can see I'm starting to put in the forward elevator, and that is pitching forward just to try and keep this tree here in sight of the camera. I'm still holding both of those inputs roughly the same all the way up until I'm more or less dead over the object that I'm focusing on. So here's the tree at the bottom, and then at that point I'm dead over it. You can see I now drop the throttle, keeping in roughly the same amount of forward pitch. At this point we don't have any more lift available because of the angle of the quad, so that's why I'm dropping the throttle, and then we keep going over, keeping the same amount of forward pitch, keep rotating forward until this horizon now starts to come into view, at which point I now pitch forward aggressively to exit the maneuver. And then because I'm a little higher up, I'll allow it to just drop a little bit more before I then catch with the throttle. So again, let's just have a look at that one more time. Keep an eye on the right sticks. Going up, little bit of forward elevator, and at this point drop the throttle, keep rotating, and then bail back to forward flight, and finally catching with the throttle. So that's a nice way to learn it. It kind of slows down the first half, and then you can do the second half of the flip a little bit faster. I think, and as I said before, I think that looks like a great looking maneuver in its own right. I have another one here. So this one is a lot faster and lower than the previous two. I don't know if you've already spotted it, but I'm actually gunning for this little gap here just over this kind of small tree, and in between these two larger trees either side. Going at this with plenty of speed. Let me play that at full speed for you so you can see this one. Yeah, so that was pretty quick. Being lower to the ground, you can't hang around so much, or you know, certainly I didn't choose to hang around upside down for too long. In fact, that was so quick, you know, I think that could probably be mistaken for just a straight front flip. But if you watch the sticks again, you'll see that there is actually a slight peekaboo maneuver in there. If you watch that right stick, you'll see that double pump of the forward pitch. But again, if I slow it down, you'll see all the same rules apply. I'm kind of at the same level as the tree. I don't want to go straight for this gap at the same altitude as this gap, because without popping the throttle, you would just be falling as soon as you go inverted, and that will mean for a much scarier exit because you'll end up lower down. You can do that if you're quick enough on the sticks, but in my case I'm literally flying straight at the tree. You can see here I'm starting to pop the throttle, and then there's the split, and you can see right from where I've freeze framed that, I am now dead above the tree, the little one, and you can see the two tall trees flanking it either side. Fully pushed forward, drop the throttle, looking for the horizon. There it is as the stick comes back, and then almost immediately I'm straight on the forward pitch again to exit the maneuver and then catch the throttle. And I'm pretty aggressive catching the throttle there, because you can see I've sort of heading towards the ground very quickly. So lastly, what else can you do with this maneuver? Well, that's entirely up to you. You can do a backflip version of the peekaboo, or if you like, there's also this, which is to do a double peekaboo, and there's a little more involved going on here. So let me just show you that at full speed. So again, it all seems so fast. Let me just slow this down. So what's happening here I'm a lot higher this time because the maneuver takes a little bit longer. You're going to be dropping a lot further during it. Again, similar rules apply. We're popping the throttle first. There's the split in the sticks as I drop the throttle and fully deflect forward, looking for the horizon. There it is. Now at this point, I now want to find the horizon again, but in order to do that and still be travelling backwards, I want to do a complete 360 degree forward flip. So instead of this first half flip, I'm now going to do a complete 360 to find the horizon again. But in this instance, that's as far as I get. I didn't actually rotate far enough to get to the horizon again. Now this isn't a problem. At this point, if this does happen, you do what I did here, which was to compensate on the next part, which would then be a half flip back to forward flight. Half flip's not going to be enough now, so I'm actually going to have to keep pushing forward a little bit further, which is what I do here to come back round to level flight. So even though that wasn't perfect, it still got me through the maneuver. On that note, I will say this. There is one big reason for me probably slightly messing up there is that maybe you're the same. I tinker with my settings all the time, and I know a lot of us come back from the flying field, we immediately go plug it into the computer, start messing with our rates and start messing with our endpoints, and while that's fine, I'll tell you now, it just works against everything your muscle memory is learning out there. I was doing loads of these on my the last time I went out flying. I messed with my settings. I've come out and flown it on this flight, and hold on, my muscle memory's getting confused. And that's because I changed my rates and my endpoints and my Super Expo. So every time you add a variable in, every time you change something, your fingers and your hands and your muscle memory will have to do a partial relearn for that maneuver. In fact, I was recently talking to one excellent Acro FPV pilot, and I said to them, what are your rates? Asked a few questions, and he said to me, do you know what? I don't know. It's been so long since I've changed anything. And that for me said everything I needed to hear. He's probably done 100 packs through the same settings, and because of that, his muscle memory had the same flight experience every time and got better and better and better. Every time you mess with something, I know you're all in pursuit of that perfect tune and that perfect feel. Try and get it as close as you can, but then just try and do as much flying as you can without changing anything, or change things by very small amounts, because it will hold you back in terms of your flying. So just a little tip that I think will help in the long run. Anyway, I hope that's been helpful for you. If you enjoyed this, drop me a like and subscribe if you don't subscribe to me already. Really appreciate it. And let me know in the comments if this is something you liked, if you would like me to break down some more maneuvers, or if there's some more advanced ones or some basic ones, or something I haven't done in any of my flight videos that you're like, I'd like to see this. I challenge you to go out and do it. That's fine. I'll accept the challenge. I'll go out, try and fly the maneuver, work it out, and then I'll break it down for you in a video. So as ever, thanks for watching. Fly safe, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.